For the longest time, people clowned Roman Reigns for his promo ability, specifically the one where John Cena clowned him for forgetting his lines. And ever since then, Roman Reigns has been known for that specific promo. And then he teamed up with Paul Heyman. When you have Paul Heyman, a guy like that is going to bring promos for you so you don't have to do the work. And then on top of that, Roman got better at his own promos while working with Paul Heyman. How could you not, right? But since then, as we know, Paul Heyman has betrayed Roman Reigns. And now, finally, on Monday Night Raw last night, Roman Reigns went up against Paul Heyman in a promo after having become the tribal chief. And that raises the question, how was Roman Reigns' first promo back? Or rather, how was Roman Reigns' first promo against Paul Heyman? So here's what we're going to do in the video, right? First, we're going to talk about the promo dynamic. We're going to talk about what the promo really was, if it was actually a back and forth between Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns, and what was missing from the promo to make it a real promo, right? Next, we're going to talk about the promo's memorable moments. We're going to run down through everything that happened in the promo that I can remember. I put memorable moments specifically because I initially thought, maybe I should rewatch this promo so I could make notes on it and then talk about it and rate it. But I figured, you know what? If something's memorable, I'll remember it already. And if I don't remember it, then it must not have been that big. So we're going to rate it on that as well. Which brings me into our next point. Yes, we are rating this promo. Now, what are we going to be rating the promo on? We're going to be rating the promo on how funny it is, how truthful it is, how cutthroat it is, the hiccups, and how memorable it was, and the fan reaction, right? Now for funny, I only added funny because this is one of Roman Reigns' first promo where he's actually like making jokes, like being more comedic. It seems he's leaning more into being a face. Obviously for truth, all good promos to me tell truth. I don't think a promo is good if you go out there and you just spew nonsense and then everybody just cheers for it. That's ridiculous. Cutthroat is really what John Cena did to Roman Reigns back when he forgot his lines during his promo, right? So cutthroat promos are really, really good for making memorable moments. Now hiccups is because of, again, the promo that Roman Reigns had against John Cena where he forgot his lines. So are there any hiccups in Roman's promo this time around? Memorable, again, that aligns with it being cutthroat, but memorable could be for many other reasons, and I just went over that. And then fan reaction, that doesn't have much to do with how you did during the promo yourself, but it does tell you if you have the fans along the ride with you, which I think counts. And then we're going to give an overall rating for Roman Reigns' entire promo. So let's get into the entire Roman Reigns promo against quote unquote Paul Heyman, right? So the first thing that happens, right? We start the promo off. Paul Heyman, he's going to start talking and he wants to get something off his chest. Obviously, Roman won't let him do that, so he interrupts him. When Roman Reigns gets in the ring after 10 minutes of an entrance, Paul Heyman then starts to beg, basically, Roman Reigns to work with him again, to team up again, and let Roman Reigns be the new leader of Seth Rollins' faction. I don't know where this is coming from. Even if Roman accepted this, I think it's tricks. I think it's lies, because Seth Rollins would not approve of Roman Reigns being the leader of his faction while he is out, while he is gone. That's just Paul Heyman trying to save his ass, right? So that's really all Paul Heyman does. Paul Heyman just pleads to Roman that we could work together. We work better together than we do apart, even though Paul Heyman is the one that separated them. So make it make sense, right? Now, here's where I talk about the promo's dynamic and what is missing. What we got from Paul Heyman just now is all that we got from Paul Heyman. What this promo was missing was a back and forth between Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. That would have been very interesting to see, considering that Roman Reigns has worked with Paul Heyman for such a long time, to see, if Roman could keep up with Paul in a war of words. But it was really let Paul say this and then let Roman take the stage, and then Braun Breaker take the stage, and then, Roman says a little something, but we're going to get to that, right? So it's missing that back and forth. So does it really feel like it's against Paul Heyman? Not really, not entirely. Like, Paul Heyman is there. He's talking to Paul Heyman, sure. But it is not like a versus. It's not a back and forth. Like, yes, Roman Reigns versus Paul Heyman finally. Can Roman Reigns finally get a one-up on Paul Heyman in a promo battle? Which usually the case would obviously be no. But we want to see how close Roman Reigns has gotten to Paul Heyman on the microphone, especially now that he doesn't have him to do the work for him, right? So that's what's missing from the promo. Now, the promo itself, let's continue. So now it's Roman Reigns' turn, and Roman Reigns first says he forgot to say something. Hold on, he hits the acknowledge me. That doesn't go into our rating, and just gotta acknowledge the acknowledge me. I acknowledge you, my tribal chief. Next up, Roman didn't care what Paul Heyman had to say. He didn't listen to him at all. Actually, he says, that would have been wise words before from a wise man years ago. That's what I would have said. But now I'm not listening to you because you're not a wise man anymore. You're just a dumbass. This is the first moment that is like actual comedy. Like Roman Reigns is like hitting us with some comedy. Like he's not as serious. He's more jokey and laid back now. And these are things that are making me start to think that he's not really a tweener or anything like that anymore. He's like actually becoming a face, like a full-fledged face, especially because of things he did after the show and during the last show and everything like that, right? But that's not the point of this video. That's a different video. Now, Roman Reigns then goes on to say, after calling Paul Heyman a dumbass, that Paul Heyman did not make the tribal chief. Now, you know what? I'm going to talk about the truth later on when we do the truth rating, but just keep that in mind. He said that Paul Heyman did not make the tribal chief, which, you know, Roman obviously had to work on things himself, but Paul Heyman certainly had a lot to do with his character development. Moving forward, he also tells Paul Heyman that he did not help him retain the title and that the bloodline did. Okay, so moving on from that, after he tells him he didn't help him retain the title, the bloodline did, he tells him that basically Sammy helped me, Solo helped me, Jimmy and Jay helped me, all these guys helped me, but you didn't help me retain the title. How could you possibly help me retain the title? Because you don't have the physical ability or the physical stature to help me do such a thing. So he was like, basically make it make sense. You can't help me retain the title. I did that for 4 years with my bloodline. He then goes on to say that Paul Heyman didn't help create the bloodline, that the bloodline was God's work. Like that was something only God could do, because the bloodline is literally about being family. Like you were birthed into the family, and that's what it was. Outside of that, Sami Zayn was selected blood at the time, and Paul Heyman was selected blood at the times, right? Going forward after that, what I remember is Roman Reigns just continued throughout the promo spamming dumbass. He called Paul Heyman a dumbass several times, and it was the funniest the first time. The second and third time, like it's still funny, but he started spamming dumbass. I don't remember how many times he said it, but he started spamming it. After that, obviously Braun Breaker steps in. Braun Breaker versus Roman Reigns in a promo. Like, I didn't feel like Braun Breaker did much of anything either. Like, he really just told Roman that nobody wants you here and that you need to leave because, you know, that's what you do best anyway, which doesn't really hit hard at all. And then Roman has his last and funniest moment to me in the promo is when he basically tells Braun Breaker, hey, I didn't hear none of the stuff you just said. I think your mic's not working. Matter of fact, if you need mine, then use mine. He tosses him his mic, and then he hits him with the Superman punch, and then we start the attack, right? Now that we know everything that was memorable and that I remember from the promo, let me know if there's anything I forgot that you think was memorable. Let's talk about these ratings. Now, how funny was this promo? I'm going to write everything down too. In terms of funny nature, the funny moments were Roman Reigns calling Paul Heyman a dumbass the first time. Like, it's a perfect counter to being a wise man. Like, you were wise, but now you're just a dumbass, right? It was funny when it hit the first time. First time, I get it like a 9 on the funny scale. Second 2 times, I give it like a 8-7 on the funny scale. So I think overall on funny scale, I'm going to give Roman Reigns for today, especially for the tribal chief, at 8.5. Now, let's talk about the truth scale. Roman Reigns said that Paul Heyman, 1, didn't make the tribal chief, and Paul Heyman didn't help him retain the title. Let me first talk about what I think is the most truthful thing here. He said Paul Heyman didn't help him retain the title. Now, I didn't say that it's 100% true. I said it's the most truthful, I think, out of things he said. Because his point was Paul Heyman is not, you know, an athlete. He's not active. Like, there's only so much he could physically do to help him win the title. Either way, Paul Heyman has done the things that a typical manager would do, which is distract the referees on the side or whatever. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember much of it right now because that reign was, like he said, it was 4 years and everything. But Paul Heyman has done things like that and then put chairs in the ring when it was him versus Brock Lesnar and everything. Like, things of that nature, right? But Paul Heyman, yes, he can't physically do too much to help Roman retain his title. He had a lot and most of his help from the bloodline. So I would say that is very true, except aside from the fact of the little sly things that Paul Heyman does to help him cheat with distractions and things like that. Now, in regards to Paul Heyman didn't make the tribal chief, yes and no. Roman Reigns, like, he had to do his own development. I will never take a person's own development away from them, right? And Paul Heyman wouldn't have worked with Roman if he didn't see Roman as somebody that could become what he did, right? Now, that being said, Paul Heyman is somebody that helped Roman Reigns with that development. So, with him helping with the development, can I really say that Paul Heyman didn't make the tribal chief? Yeah, I'll say he didn't make the tribal chief, but he certainly helped you ascend to become the tribal chief. He certainly helped you ascend to become who you truly wanted to be. So, like, it's a give and take. Like, I get it. Like, you know, you did your development and you can't take a person's development away from them. But to act like Paul Heyman had nothing to do with that development, I don't know about that, right? Now, the bloodline being God's work. For the most part, it's true. The bloodline was everybody that was born into the family, right? The only people that were not born into the family was Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn, okay? So, yes, technically the bloodline is God's work, and I understand the weight of that line, and then he chooses his family after that point. But yes, Paul Heyman cannot create the Samoan bloodline. So, you know, that's another very truthful thing in itself. So, with that being said, man, the overall truth rating to his promo, I feel like I just want to give it a flat 8. I want to give it an 8 because I feel like it's true. The bloodline was always going to be the bloodline because, to be honest, the bloodline exists today and we're going to have more bloodline members in the future. I also feel that it's true that Paul Heyman cannot physically do much for Roman in his matches, but I think that we do need to acknowledge Paul Heyman's role in helping, you know, create the tribal chief. So, is it an 8? Are we going to go with an 8? I'm going to write an 8 for now. I think that's what I'm going to go with for right now, right? Now, in regards to how cutthroat the promo was, I don't need to spend a lot of time on this. I don't think the promo was cutthroat, like, at all, really. Like, it was pretty, like, just mild. It was more based in telling him what's true and what's real about them. Nothing that made you feel like he struck a serious chord. And it was more of him hitting those jokes and being funny with calling Paul Heyman a dumbass. So I'm just going to go ahead and rate the cutthroat part of this promo 3. I'm just give it a 3. I'm going to give him points for, like, you know, getting to the point, but it wasn't like cutthroat to where it was like super hard. Now, the hiccups in the promo. I'm going to give Roman Reigns a 10. Now, he takes a lot of pauses during his promo and everything like that, sure, but at this point, we come to expect him to be slow, methodical, like that's a part of his character. But in terms of actual hiccups and forgetting lines and things like that, I think Roman is pretty smooth on the mic in terms of remembering what he's supposed to say or what he was going to say or getting to his next thought or whatever. And if he happens to have hiccups where he does forget lines now, it's so built into his character that he has so much space in between his words that I wouldn't know if he forgot anything because he's naturally always going to take pauses anyway. Maybe that's designed intentionally. Now, in regards to the fan reaction, specifically to his promo, I don't know. I'll give the fan reaction like a 7.5. I think like a 7.5. Like, I don't think anybody was losing their mind. People did chant OTC and acknowledge me, but that's not really a part of the promo. You know, they responded to some of the things he said and to the bloodline. They really popped the most when he said the Usos. But I'm gonna give 7.5, like the 5. Like, the crowd wasn't going insanely crazy, and rightfully so, because nothing insane was happening. In regards to how memorable the promo was, I'm gonna say the promo was about a 7 in regards to how memorable it was, because like I said, it was mostly comedy, with some truth in there, nothing too cutthroat, but he didn't have any hiccups, and the fan reaction was okay. So yeah, I think in terms of how much I remembered from the promo, sure, I remembered a good amount, right? So, I did remember a good amount. I don't think I missed a lot. Maybe I'll give it a 7.5. I'll give it a 7.5 just because I don't feel like I forgot too much. But you tell me if you think I forgot too much, all right? All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up all these numbers and I'm going to give this promo its overall rating. So give me a second. And I'm at average. I'm going to get the average. So I'm going to add them up and do the division, of course. So when you add all those numbers up and do the correct division, you get an average of 7.4. It's going to be 7.41, but I'm just say 7.4. So Roman Reigns promo from Monday Night Raw last night against Paul Heyman, I would give it a 7.4. I think that's a pretty solid rating. I think I tried to be as objective as possible without like being biased about, you know, him being my favorite wrestler and everything. but I still enjoyed it nonetheless because I'm always happy to see Roman. Let me know if you agree with the rating, if you disagree with anything that I said, as long as you're being respectful with your critiques and your thoughts and opinions. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. This is J Athletic Gaming, and I'll catch you on the next one.